I understand you've got bunch of interviews, so I'll keep it as
Yeah,
brief as I can. But yeah, welcome to the interview. My name's Brady. I'm from the Inner Strength Check podcast, and yeah, we wanted to catch up with you again. I've spoken to you in the past in your capacity with Soilwork more than anything, so it's interesting
yeah.
to be speaking to you around the new project. So, how things going?
Things are really good and exciting.
Yeah,
A lot of things happening at the same time, and yeah, we just opened for Kiss with the Night Flight Orchestra 1 week ago
yeah, saw
on
that.
their
That's
on
awesome.
the very last two shows in Sweden, and then now we're getting prepared to go to Australia. Unbelievable! What a summer!
That's fantastic. So walk me
Yeah,
through a little bit how that experience with Kiss was. That must be pretty big notch on the belt for you, even after all this time.
yeah. It was unbelievable. What an experience. I
Mm,
mean, didn't really know what to expect. I mean, but they were so nice to us. They were hanging out. Gene came into our dressing room a couple of times and said hello and was
wow.
dancing with one of the backup singers. It was really surreal, the whole thing. Paul Stanley said hi. We met with Tommy and Eric as well, and their crew was amazing. Doc McGee came in to say hi. We got a lot of sound check time, and yeah, I mean, and the venue itself was unbelievable. It's sort of like the Red Rocks of Sweden. It's like a
Wow.
like a hole in the ground, like an amphitheater. Should look it up in social media. We posted some pictures. Unbelievable. So what an experience.
Wow.
Yeah, the hospitality was fantastic. So and being part of their very last two shows in Sweden and was just fantastic. And they sounded absolutely amazing. So
That's
they just did,
excellent.
they definitely ended on a high note. Beautiful.
That's fantastic to hear. And how did you feel? How did you feel meeting with the band while while you were doing the shows? Did you have a starstruck moment or?
Yeah, absolutely. It's just, I
Yeah.
mean, it was just surreal. Like it's, you just, I'm in there in the dressing room, and then Gene Simmons walks in. It's like, what is going on? You know,
Is that
and I
something that
introduced
you?
myself, and what do you say? Like,
Mm,
yeah,
yeah,
it
absolutely.
meant so much for the band too. Kiss. I mean, we kind of founded the band on being highly influenced from their late 70s and early 80s, I would say, especially.
Yeah.
So it's wow, what a
Wow.
moment.
Fantastic.
Mm.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So pretty pivotal moment. Did you
Yeah.
ever sort of looking back in your career when you were sort of in the early starting days of soil work, could you ever have pictured yourself in this scenario?
I don't think so. I mean, I don't know. I don't think I was sort of thinking too far. I
Mm,
was very much in the moment for each
sure.
and every album, and uh, but of course, you had your dreams, but I don't think they reached that far. Opening
Mm,
for Kiss and you know, really cool.
excellent.
Just I've been very blessed with amazing experiences both with both bands, with Soilwork and the Night Flight Orchestra. So I'm very grateful, and it's two different genres too. So
Yeah. And how does
it's
that
pretty
feel
crazy.
sort of, yeah, how does that feel after so much time spending time? Obviously, Soilwork's done some massive shows and you've supported or
Mm.
headlined for quite some large gigs.
Mm.
What's the sort of what's the difference in the vibe between, say, a Night Flight Orchestra show and a Soilwork show?
Um, Hard to say. I mean, I would say that it's a little bit of a different crowd. It's more of a mixed crowd.
Mm,
It's really all over the place. It has a unifying factor. It brings everything from prog dads to teenagers who knows every word, to hipsters, to metalheads with black metal patches on that always ends up dancing in the end and doing the conga train together. It's like it's wonderful to see, and so I guess we don't get that much dancing with soul work, even though
mm,
that would be great too. There's
yeah.
nothing wrong with dancing, is there? So, but it's a slightly different vibe. It's a more sort of what do you say, celebration, I guess, in
Mm,
general,
mm,
compared to soul work, which is more sort of a little bit of everything. You know, it's
Mm.
quite melancholic, but it's also very
Mm.
like a rocking vibe to it as well. So yeah, I don't know. It's very different. It's
Mm.
I guess I'm wearing two different hats, even though I'm actually just wearing a hat in one of the hats,
Yeah.
which would be a beret. But yeah, you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah.
And how does it feel sort of transitioning into even aesthetically going from that kind of more metal performative element and the certain kinds of dress to what you guys put on? Because I've seen some of your live content, and you guys go all out on the stage production side of things, including what you're wearing. It's quite
Yeah.
yeah. Does it sort
It's so
of
much fun, you know.
yeah?
Yeah. I mean, it gives you a little bit more of a wider palette, I guess, when it comes to finding ways of, you know, doing stage production. It's
Mm,
almost like anything goes kind of thing, you know,
mm,
and that in itself is quite liberating, you know,
mm.
and but I mean, I love putting on a glittery suit and then putting on a cape and a beret. I mean, there's something special about that, you know, and
Yeah.
yeah, I dig it, and it really represents who I am, you know, both
Mm,
bands, you know, and it's so much fun, and I love doing it. I think people can tell, and so is everybody else in the band. So it's
mm.
and taking this to the stage. I mean, it's one thing listening to our music on the albums and but seeing us live, I mean, it's on a whole different level. Everything comes alive in a different on a whole new, yeah, in a different way, I would say.
Mm,
So.
mm. That's awesome. That's great.
Mm.
So, do you feel like, because I get the sense you're saying that it's part of you and it's been part of you, do you feel like this is something that's been kind of yearning to get out of Bjorn? This is sort of
Yes,
part of you that's
yes,
laid dormant for a while? Mm,
absolutely. It's been there the whole time. It was sort of a calling, and once I did start this band, I think I became better in Soilwork as well. So I
mm.
think you know, that maybe that was needed.
Okay.
So
In what way, do you, if you don't mind me asking?
I think I became a better singer and a better
Mm,
songwriter as well. And I mean,
mm,
sure, there's always something about that like primal vibe to it, like the first albums. I'm not quite sure what I'm doing, and there's a
mm,
charm to that, and that I can never recreate that.
mm,
But where I'm at right now, I feel like Night Flight Orchestra has given me a lot as a vocalist, and I brought that with me to Soilwork as well. And
mm,
that doesn't mean that I'm starting to sound the way I do in Soilwork, the way I sound in Night Flight. It's
mm.
just I built a stronger voice,
Right.
and I can express myself in more different ways,
Mm,
and even the screamy vocals are better, I
mm,
think. So it's
mm.
just that I built up a better stamina
Yeah.
with my
Okay.
voice, as long as I don't get sick, because then
Mm, yeah.
everything is going south. But yeah.
Well, speaking of getting sick, I wouldn't be a stereotypical interviewer without mentioning the obvious of the past few years. So, obviously, you guys have toured. You've toured Australia recently with Soilwork. I saw that
Mm,
with the release of Aromantic and later Aromantic 2, that the Bleedingly Obvious, the pandemic had kind of put a
mm,
dampener on things. Have you
yeah.
noticed kind of any differences between pre-pandemic and now in terms of performing, touring? Is there anything you're noticing that's kind of different in this space now?
Not that much, except everything is more expensive.
Yeah.
I guess that's it's so depressing in that sense, you know. But as far as I mean, when we came to Australia last year, you know, because it's been really hard to get through because everybody is touring, you know.
Yeah.
It's there's so much traffic out there, you know,
Yeah.
and when we came to Australia, it was I felt that it was one of the best tours we've ever done there, and there was
Wow.
so much electricity in the air, you know,
Yeah.
and that was really the first time I really felt that after
Right.
COVID, you know, and so that was a beautiful thing to come there and just seeing people being so excited. You had a pretty
Mm.
brutal lockdown too, so I guess that might have had something to do with it.
Yeah.
I guess.
It it may have. We may or may not have been absolutely chomping at the bit to see you guys, so
Yeah,
that might have
yeah,
impacted it. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But in general, I think it's pretty much the same thing. It's like I said, it's like the boring side of things or depressing side of things is that everything is way more expensive. But
Mm.
so that puts a lot of pressure, you know, on everyone.
Yeah.
but people are still there and having a good time once you play, and the vibe is there. And yeah, like you mentioned, Aromatic One was released right when COVID hit,
Mm.
and we got to tour for 1 week through Europe, and then we had to go home. So that was a
Ah.
big letdown. But it was the same for everyone who was
Mm.
out there. And but we felt that we were not done with Aromantic One, so we had to work on an Aromantic Two in order to,
Mm.
like, once things open up again, we could tour for both albums. So that was sort of
Right.
the mindset. So I
Yeah.
guess
Okay.
they're sort of twin albums in that sense.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Mm. Is there any sort of overarching concept between the two?
No, I wouldn't say that they are concept albums. I think it's just us sort of gathering around, like, how can I say, being sort of nostalgic about certain things, and
Mm.
also about being in emotion and creating a soundtrack for that,
Mm.
and also sort of having the symbol for, sort of like old school airline kind of romanticism,
Yeah.
running
Yeah.
through it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. Nice. And so I guess in terms of Night Flight Orchestra and Soilwork, like while there's some carryover in terms of vocal performance, in terms of songwriting, all that sort of stuff, with the sort of distinctive retro sound of Night Flight Orchestra, that sets it apart a bit. What sort of kind of adjustments have you found that you need to make in your performance or your rehearsal as a vocalist in order to kind of facilitate the Night Flight Orchestra side of things?
Good thing. I mean, it's hard to say exactly if it's been that much different.
Mm,
Because um it took me some time to get confident, being the singer of Night Flight Orchestra, but I also knew that there was gonna be good things coming,
mm,
because I
mm,
felt that there was something that needed to come out,
mm,
and but I just had to sort of rediscover my own voice a little bit, even though I took with me the stamina that I built up during the years with solo work, but I
mm,
also had to find other things with my voice, and then that kept it, interesting.
mm,
And
mm,
I guess I became a lot better at warming up as well. That's something that I never did before.
mm, mm,
And then I kind of noticed it when we did a bunch, like, maybe it was like 2 or 3 festivals in total with both bands, and on one of the festivals it was only like half an hour in between,
mm,
which was kind of weird. So it was but the switch was easier than you would think, and I
mm.
felt like, wow, I was singing better with solo work than I normally do. And it's like, oh, maybe I should start warming up. It's like kind of, you know, hallelujah moment right there. It's like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Only took 25 years to realize that, but
They're
yeah.
like never.
No, but I've been taking care of my voice a bit better,
Mm,
and I also need my falsetto a lot for the Night Flight Orchestra. There's a lot of that
mm.
going on as well. So it's yeah, but my voice can definitely take a beating at this point, which
I'll
which I'm really
bet.
grateful for, because
Yeah.
I'm no spring chicken anymore, I guess.
And how's the experience of touring like with the Night Flight Orchestra as a band? This ain't picking favorites or anything, but
No.
what's the sort of the differences you've noticed in being on tour with Night Flight versus Soilwork? Because I know that you've got Night Flight is kind of a bit of a I'm not a biggest fan of the term, but it's a bit of a super group in terms of who's in it.
Yeah. Hmm.
What's the dynamic like when you're on tour? Any differences you notice there, or it's much of the same experience, or
It's quite similar, even though it's more, having two girls in the band makes a big difference too. It's a different vibe, I would say,
mm,
and I think it's a good thing that it's
mm,
it's it's very sort of mixed, and keep things interesting, and yeah,
mm,
it's usually a really good time, and we get along just fine, and It's harder to stay away from the partying with Night Flight Orchestra than with Soilwork. Probably because I've been doing Soilwork for such a long time too. So I mean, you kind of things have settled a little bit, and
Right. Yeah.
I think that's actually good because if I would be doing like a lot of partying with both bands, then whew, that would be
Yeah.
pretty rough.
Well, it's a lot of, as you said, in just general physical stamina, dexterity, even for your vocals. And then on top of that, you're
Yeah,
doing international flights, and then there's some partying
yeah.
involved in that sort of thing. How do you have you found that you've needed sort of to adjust your routine at all, or change things in order to keep fresh, in order to keep that momentum?
Well, I mean, as long as I don't get sick, it's usually fine. But I mean, sleep is becoming more and more important. Back in the
Mm,
day, it's like, oh, I sleep 3 hours, that's fine,
yeah.
rock and roll.
Yeah.
Smoke cigars all night and drink Jack and Coke, and nothing could stop me. But
Yeah.
I mean, if I did that today, I probably would die. But um, so I would say that sleep is big, and stay hydrated. I'm kind of bad at drinking water because I'm never really thirsty that much. It takes a lot for me to become really thirsty. So it's like I
Mm,
have to sort of force myself to drink water, but
mm,
that's definitely the key to keeping your vocal cords in shape too. Drink a lot
mm.
of water and yeah, and get sleep. So
That's my cat in the
yeah.
background.
Okay.
So, okay. So, in terms of touring, so you've got a few dates over here in Australia, which I mean,
Hmm.
the buzz here is like you can feel it from here.
Really?
Um,
Wow, that's amazing.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I think there's actually quite a lot of excitement building for the show. No pressure or anything.
No pressure.
What's the sort of, where are you guys kind of in your touring circuit? So you played a couple of shows with Kiss. There's obviously you've been on the European circuit for a bit, I
Hmm.
imagine. Any other tours upcoming, or is this sort of towards the end of your kind of current circuit?
Well, we might have some touring to do in the spring next year as well. And meanwhile, we're also finishing up the new album. There's going to
Mm,
be some singles leading up to the new album, which probably will be released in, I would guess, April, May, something like that.
mm-hmm, mm,
But there will be something more. At first we were looking into doing something in North America, but we couldn't really get our visas in time, and it was just too short, and so that might be something that we will do in the spring, but nothing is confirmed. So
mm,
it's a little bit up in the air right now, but
mm.
good things will come for sure.
Absolutely. And it seems like you guys have been consistent. I mean, in the decade plus that Night Flight has been a thing, you've got 5 albums, including a double album, released pretty
Hmm.
shortly between one another back to back. And now you've got more tours upcoming. You're talking about even another upcoming album. So it sounds like there's a lot
Hmm.
of, must be a bit of a wellspring of inspiration then for you guys to be releasing pretty consistently.
Yeah, yeah, I would say I think so, and I think it has to do with that we came out and got to play live again. I think that did
Yeah.
something, and it can be very, very sort of inspirational, and so I think a lot of things came out from that as well, and also grieving David and his
Mm,
passing. I think also did something, and he's
mm,
he's he's always present.
yeah.
He's
Yeah.
still here. And
Yeah.
and so I think there's a lot of inspiration flowing, and a lot
Mm,
of things that need to get out and channeled.
mm,
So
mm,
yeah.
mm.
Mm.
Well, you've certainly got the outlets for it, that's for sure.
Yeah, yeah,
Mm.
yeah.
So let's say I'm an average punter and somehow in the day and age of 2023, I heard nothing about Night Flight Orchestra and I decided to grab a ticket and go. Or
Mm.
I've been listening to them through lockdown, etc., and now I'm super keen. What can I expect? What could one expect from a Night Flight Orchestra show on these upcoming dates?
Well, it usually turns into a big dance party with conga trains and everything. And like I mentioned before, like these songs, if you listen to our albums and enjoy what we do, I mean, come to the show. It's on a whole
Mm,
different level. They
mm,
really come alive, the songs, and it becomes very much of a celebration. And Yeah, like I mentioned before too, it brings out people from different, genres too, which makes everything very interesting, and
Mm,
nothing but smiles, it's always a beautiful time.
fantastic. Well, you heard it
Mm.
here officially, folks. Black metal hipsters, get your money maker shaking. All right.
Exactly.
Well,
Yeah.
I'll leave you to it because you're a busy man with a fair few projects on the go. Thanks so much again for your time. I look forward to seeing you guys when you tour upcoming with Night Flight Orchestra. And yeah, enjoy the rest of your day, Bjorn.
Thank you so much, and thanks for having me.
Thank you
We'll
for
see
your
you in
time.
Australia. Okay.
Cheers. Thank you.
Take care, man. Okay, cheers. Bye.
See ya.